Lagos State wants to bring in more international capital. The Lagos State International Financial Center, a project that is being put together by the Lagos State government on the public side, EnterpriseNGR on the private sector side, and of course an international partner in the city UK. Currently in phase 2, implementation. Now, recently in Cambridge, in the United Kingdom, at the Muller Institute, there were a variety of players from the public and private sector side that got together for a training. Lagos State Governor, His Excellency Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Minister of Industry and Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduole, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria, Dr. Omowotimi Agama. They all spoke, along with a variety of other individuals, about the importance of the training and the importance of this project, the Lagos International Financial Center. Here they are.
First, really is to thank and commend everybody that has created the time to be here for the next 2 days. It goes to show that when we all put our heart and our mind to things, we can achieve a lot as a country. And you can see the array of very many important federal agencies, members of the National Assembly, heads of government, parastatals, all turning out. And I think it's really credit to Mr. President, who have also informally sanctioned us to go ahead and have this conversation, because he's also expecting the outcome of the discussions we're having here today, just so that he can give further directive and help us, put the country, in that international world map of countries and cities that have what it takes to have an international financial center. It's not just lip service, it's something that this government is working on. And we as a sub-national are indeed happy that we can get everybody here today for us to stretch the ideas, criticize ourselves, and ask what are the things that we need to do, for us to have a convergence of all the other things that needs to happen for Nigeria to be, on that trajectory. And I'm excited that we've created a time to do that here. Well, I believe it will have a life of its own. It should, in its shortest future, be a life, international center. Like I said, we can't do it alone without the support and the belief of the federal government, especially Mr. President. And once they are committed and they see the benefit of it, we see it coming to reality. And once it comes up, the country as a whole will certainly benefit from it.
We've been looking at trends on foreign direct investment across the world, the geopolitical space, and all the things that have been happening in the past 2 years. The Nigerian economy under Mr. President has been stabilized and is uniquely placed to take advantage of where we are now, the inflection point for growth. FDI is a very competitive space across the world, from various regions, and for Nigeria to get it, we need an enabling environment specifically targeted at speaking the language that FDI is speaking globally, the regulatory and legislative environment, the government-to-government interface, and also the private sector interface. So this is all the stakeholders from the government side and with the private sector that need to deliver that intervention for Nigeria. And we're here to listen, learn about the best practices across the world, and see how we can move this trajectory and make it happen for Nigeria. Mr. President has set a goal for a $1 trillion economy for Nigeria, and this is one of the tools, this is one of the catalytic levers that can deliver that. It's a catalyst that can move and ensure that Nigeria, with Lagos as the epicenter, becomes a finance destination, a capital destination. We've been attracting foreign direct investment, we've been attracting portfolio investment and some FDI to Nigeria over the last 18 months or so in particular, and this is one of the catalysts that will ensure. So Mr. President is interested in it because it speaks to his renewed hope agenda, it speaks to item number 7, it speaks to, now that the economy has been stabilized, how do we position Nigeria in global affairs to attract the capital that we need to grow this economy. My ministry was born for this, we're created for this. This is our main mandate, to attract investment. That is why we're here. You've seen us all across the world, led by Mr. President. We've been in in various regions. You saw us at the UAE having our first commercial economic partnership agreement with the UAE. You've seen us talking with Brazil. You saw us with commercial investment partnership with the US. You'll see us on the presidential visit with the ETIP, the enlarged trade partnership agreement with the UK. And so we've been actively galvanizing opportunities to draw capital in. So this partnership, LIFC, with City of London and with private sector across Nigeria, the Lagos State government, is one of the most tangible interventions that we can deliver to make sure that we can position Nigeria as a financial destination for the world.
The truth about it is there's no other thing like education. Knowledge is critical and important in the development of any society, let alone the establishment of the Lagos International Financial Center. To a lot of people it is new, but organically it's something that we need to understand properly before we bring it on board. And that is why a training as this is very critical, for the establishment, for building us up in terms of capacity, for making it organic, and for ingesting the entire concept of the LICF. First, before I say that, I must commend Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for this brilliant and bright initiative. It's one thing to have a concept, and it's another thing to make sure that concept works. And that concept would only work when you get the right people in the room, educate them properly, get them to see your vision, because it's only those that have the vision that can drive the vision. So, and of course, what is even more important is leading from the front, and that's what the governor is doing, leading from the front, being part of all of us in the discussion of the issues that probably will arise and the issues that we need to deal with to have a smooth sail. And that is very, very important, and it speaks of success. Nigeria is more than ready with this approach, right? It's a top-bottom approach, such that everyone is involved and everyone is on the table. And once everyone is on the table, united we stand, divided we fall.
There's no point reinventing the wheel. We've seen how international finance centers have driven investment in countries where they have been successful. So we're trying to replicate that. There's absolutely no reason why we can't learn from those countries that have had success with it. Again, life is, you're constantly learning. So it's not just about the theory. It's actually hearing about everything that has been done, that has been put in place, what needs to be done. And so you'll see that here there's been an aggregation of stakeholders who all play a part in this ecosystem. So it's for us to listen to the experts and see what they've done and how we can learn from it. There's nothing Nigeria is not ready for. We just have to be intentional and focused about it. But whatever we want to do, we can achieve.
I think the role of LIFC is appearing very common worldwide. You have the likes of Singapore's model, you have the Dubai model, and you also have the Hong Kong model, and of course the UK model as well. So, and that is all in a way of connecting major jurisdictions into the global market. So, and I think it's very, very important for Nigeria, particularly at a time like this that we're experiencing a lot of reforms that are actually aligning all of our prior market distortions. So our economy is looking more stable and, of course, more predictable. And there can't be any better time to align with global interplay. And of course, it's about attracting the right capital that will support your growth and other initiatives that you have for development. Number one, the environment is very stable, and that derives from the combination of all of the efforts of both the executive and the parliament as well. So whether you are talking about tax reforms that is ongoing or other key macroeconomic stabilities. So those are the things that inform how businesses or create an easy, the ease of doing business in any environment. So, and clearly, you can't rule out the role of the parliament because you have regulatory issues, you have legal issues, things that will give comfort to investors. So it's it's typically an ongoing thing. Now, and clearly as the events evolve, of course, you will need the support of the parliament, whether in terms of refining the laws, of also amending the laws to suit what the market environment is. So that's the essence of the role. That's the essence of the role that the parliament will continuously play. It's not a static arrangement.
Now, the Lagos International Financial Center, that is this project, is co-chaired by Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Aigboje Aig-Imoukhuede. Also, Aigboje Aig-Imoukhuede is the chair of the board of EnterpriseNGR. Arise News sat down with him for a wide-ranging interview about the importance of Lagos State cementing itself as a global financial hub and a number of other things attracted to this project. Mr. Aigboje Aig-Imoukhuede, the co-chair of the Lagos International Financial Center, chair of the board EnterpriseNGR. Thank you so much for talking to Arise News, sir.
Thank you.
Can you talk about the macro view, the wider vision for the Lagos International Financial Center?
International financial centers are jurisdictions, legal jurisdictions around the world, within countries, usually a city, where very deliberate steps have been taken to make that jurisdiction very attractive to institutions and investors, financial institutions, asset managers, banks, and as well as investors. And because of the characteristics of this jurisdiction, people find it to be a safe place by which you go and make investments and you look for returns. And so you think about London, you think about Singapore, you think in the UAE, you have Dubai, in Africa, you have Morocco and Mauritius. And all of these cities within countries have become international financial centers that have witnessed significant inflow of international capital as a result of specific steps they have taken to make their destinations attractive for those who are seeking safe returns.
So what would be your response to those that say, well, Lagos is the commercial capital of Nigeria, Nigeria being the largest member of ECOWAS, as far as the West African region is concerned, all the major banks headquartered in Lagos, tech companies and so on. What would change what the LIFC is going to bring from where we are now?
So it's like the story of, when you have a lot of muscle, but muscle alone does not make you competitive. Your brain, your heart, your soul, okay, must also be brought to the table. And in fact, those are the things that activate the muscle, okay? There are 22 characteristics that international financial centers have. And it's become a very technical issue in the sense that investors are very specific as to whether those characteristics are present or not. And if they're not there, they won't come and make investments. And I'll just give you examples. One obvious example is the rule of law, the legal system, you'll be surprised, the infrastructure, what type of internet speed is available in this market and so on. So yes, you could have significant GDP taking place within the country, okay, and yet just having poor internet, having a poor court system and so on does not allow international investment come in. And also, let me explain that it's also a catalyst for domestic investment because the international investors don't want this environment just for them, okay? They want this environment as a gateway that allows them participate in what is taking place domestically. So it's really the creation of a very virtuous circle for investment to thrive. And the more you create it, the more investment comes, the better the environment and so on. And that's why you see cities like Dubai and, you look at Singapore and even Mauritius, and you go there and you say, wow, I used to come to this place 40 years ago and look at how, it works now, Hong Kong and so on.
With respect to the private and public sector relationship, you as the chair of the board for EnterpriseNGR, what is it bringing to the table from the private sector side, and what Lagos State's relationship as well for this initiative?
So EnterpriseNGR is Nigeria's leading advocacy body for the financial and professional services sector. We're talking banking, we're talking insurance, we're talking asset management, or you like capital markets, we're talking law, we're talking accounting, consulting, fintech, and so on. And for these professionals and for the firms that, they operate in to thrive, they must have customers to serve. They must have an economy that is really growing. And, the growth of economies come from investments. So we've been asking ourselves, how do we catalyze investments into Nigeria? And how do we also mobilize investments domestically? And we studied cities, especially London. And the answer was almost in front of us. If you make your country a haven for investment, you take the deliberate steps to make it attractive, you see huge inflows of investments. Of course, it's not something that the private sector can do on its own. A lot of it depends on public policy. A lot of it depends on the environment. And these environmental factors are largely things in the control of government. So you need the private sector and the public sector to come together. Now, you just mentioned West Africa and Nigeria's positioning in West Africa. Well, Lagos is, I think, Africa's, 5th largest economy. And so if there was a place in Nigeria that you have a natural advantage, okay, to work on, it would be Lagos. And so we approached the Lagos state government. And of course, the governor, who himself, in his private sector life was a financial services professional, got it. And, I just think that right now, this is Nigeria's moment. We have a president who was a leading corporate treasurer when he was in the private sector. We have a central bank governor who was an international banker. We have a minister of finance whose career was steeped in markets, and so they've seen this, and they've seen how nations have transformed through international financial centers. So I think the stars are lining up for Nigeria at this point in time. So there's never been a better time for the private sector to work with the public sector towards something that will be really transformational, such as an international financial center.
How would you tie the recent reforms that have taken place, and how that would help this initiative, like the stabilization of the Naira now over the past couple of years now? How do you think that ties into it?
So one of the things investors look for is stability, especially around macroeconomic factors, inflation, exchange rates, and so on. Of course, they want to be able to move their investments into a market quickly, and also take out the returns, dividends and so on, okay? So currency convertibility and currency stability is very key. Naira has been one of the most stable currencies in the past 2 years, largely as a result of the reforms that the Tinubu administration, particularly the central bank led by Yemi Cardoso, have brought to play. So, of course, that's a big plus.
Now, with respect to the relationships with entities outside, you were, along with the governor of Lagos State, the Minister of Trade and Investment of the Muller Institute in Cambridge.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you speak to that gathering and the training and how that ties into the LIFC?
So we are very grateful to the UK government and City UK, which is our equivalent to EnterpriseNGR in the UK. And City UK and the UK government have been quite supportive of other jurisdictions that have made the transition from where we are now to becoming major international financial centers, such as Dubai, for instance. And what do they bring? They bring a lot of training. I told you it's a very technical area. There are many things you have to do. And so they've been training us, officials in the public sector, and also, by the way, representatives from the private sector as well. And so the training you're referring to, where I participated, was like, if you like, I just joke, the Agbalagba training, the older people or more senior people's training. But, middle-level officers had, significant numbers have been trained as well to ensure that there's sustainability and institutionalization of this idea, so that we have the capacity. So, but in the room that I was in for almost 3 days was, like you said, governor of the largest economy within the subnational, within Nigeria, ministers, senators, key senators, chair of the Senate Committee on Banking and Insurance, and so on. And then, of course, you had the central bank, you had the director general of the SEC, you had the revenue, service, so it was a great crowd of officials to have in there, whose decisions and whose actions will all have a bearing as to whether or not, this is a successful initiative. And, whilst we were there, the governor gave us the great news that he had engagements with Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and, he understands it. This is his he's a markets person, and that he's, really behind this idea, and basically gave us high jump, go to work, guys.
Yeah. You've mentioned Dubai quite a number of times. There's the Dubai Financial Center there. You've seen what's been going on in the world right now with the US-Israel attacks on Iran and how the Middle East has been impacted, and particularly Dubai. Geopolitical risks, does that worry you when you think about initiatives like this? I mean, Nigeria has been stable, but of course we've seen what's been happening with Mali, Guinea, and other nations here. How are you seeing things in terms of how geopolitical risk can impact a financial center?
I think it's a great question. I think actually the geopolitical risk we're seeing and the presence of an international financial center within Dubai actually tells you why it's so critical to do this. If Dubai had not attained the position it has as an international financial center, would the world be so concerned about what is going on now?
Good point.
If Dubai was not so important, actually, right, to the fortunes of companies all across the world, right, would they be taking the type of steps you are seeing now? And see the speed with which, protagonists are saying, actually, yes, it's rough, but we are now, sending clear signals that citizens of the world, we recognize that almost an international financial center is too big to fail. And that is where we want to be. So as I've explained to you, we looked at the surprising effect of building an international financial center. To build an international financial center, all the things you want to do to build a sustainable economy that is attractive to investors, both domestic and international, you must do for an international financial center. What better way to concentrate the minds of a country, all right, to fix the things he wants to fix than a project like this?
Final question for you. Next milestones, I guess, near term, long term, in terms of, getting things on the way. Early 2026, here we are. How do you see things, unfolding going forward?
There were three things that we took away from the Moller Institute. I think, first of all, I'll just speak to 5 benefits of an international financial center. One is GDP value-added growth, okay? Another, of course, is employment. But also, I think the dignity in labor of knowing that you work in an environment that everybody aspires to come and join, just like you see Dubai has become. Foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment, okay, is certainly another important benefit, okay. Then, of course, is the issue of safety, security that you've alluded to. There's a broad effect of stabilizing an environment, a jurisdiction that seems safe, and it seeps through not just to the city, but to the entire country. These are some of the key benefits of an international financial center. Now, having concentrated our minds on these things, one thing that we agreed in the Moller Institute in Cambridge was broadly that this is something that we're going to pursue. All the participants, from the legislative side, of course, Lagos State, all the federal agencies, and importantly also the private sector. And together, in partnership and collaboration, we will make this happen for our country, okay? And then, of course, the third thing is a roadmap, okay? And so the legislative framework that will enable this happen was discussed, and already, I'm getting great feedback from different stakeholders as to how we would best architect, the center and how the center would work. So we already have the council. The council is certainly going to be expanded because the council, this started as EnterpriseNGR and the Lagos State government, and then you have to take the steps. And as the federal government has come on board now, the council will be expanded, okay? And the LIFC, right, which is a center, obviously has a staff, so we're going to have to start employing people. They have to set up an office, and that is going to be a very strategic decision because usually where the office is, the world follows, okay? So those are the things that will come. We have consultants. We have consultants for strategy. We have consultants for the legal framework, and we have consultants for communication. Communication is very critical. I think that the LIFC is going to enable our country truly communicate the benefits of coming to make investments in Nigeria on a sustainable basis and on a world-class basis.
Mr. Aigboje, Aig-Imoukhuede, the co-chair of the Lagos International Financial Center and the chair of the board of EnterpriseNGR, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lagos State, the commercial capital of Nigeria, the largest internally generated revenue in the country, the largest budget, 5th largest economy in Africa, seeking to become a global financial hub. Arise News will be following each and every step, each and every milestone until Lagos State becomes a global financial hub and the Lagos International Financial Center becomes a reality. Rhoda Sadiri, Arise News.